Hey, Colin CFP here, and thank you for tuning in. It is amazing. Today is another Transformation Tuesday, but it's also Super Tuesday, and I couldn't let today go without filming something. I mean, with these two mega events in one day, God, I had to produce some sort of video. So, guess what we're talking about today? Budgeting. Yes, budgeting. I hate that word. I've outlawed it at my company. We don't talk about budgeting. You shouldn't either. Nobody likes it. It works against our human nature. Well, maybe there are some people like it. Maybe CPAs do like budgeting. But for the most part, people hate budgeting. It works against how we as humans work. And so, if you have something that's not working for you as an individual and, the way your mind works, doesn't really work with budgeting, then why do we constantly do it? Stick around and learn more right after this. Hey, welcome. This is Colin, Certified Financial Planner. And like I said, today we're talking about budgeting. And before you hit next or snooze or something, I want you to tune in and listen to what I have to say. I hate budgeting. I think it sucks. I think nobody wants to do it. I think clients don't want to do it. I think advisors don't want to do it. Maybe, like I said before, maybe CPAs do like it a little bit. But I just think that we can get lost in the minutia of budgeting. Most people think that when they hire a financial advisor, and especially a certified financial planner, we're going to comb through your finances. We're going to find things in there. We're going to tell you how to cut back and how to scrimp and how to save and how to put that into retirement accounts. You're going to invest it in the markets, and in 30 years, 20 years, maybe if the markets work for you, you'll have what amounts to a great nest egg. And then you can take it out and live on it in retirement and get taxed on it at whatever tax rates are at that time period. And I'm here to say that that is not what I'm about. And that is not what a lot of certified financial planners are about. It's not about scarcity. And I've done a lot of work on my mindset over the last year and a half. It's something that I've neglected throughout time, and I think that it does make a really big difference in how you view the world, in how you view your business, and in how you view your finances. And there's two types of people, I think, out there, and there's been a lot of publicity on the World Wide Web about the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. And I do think there's a lot of truth to that. And a lot of it probably has to do with your upbringing and what generation you're a part of. If you were born into the Great Depression in the 1930s, where everybody was cutting back and consistently worried about their jobs, you were kind of born into this scarcity mindset that there's only a limited amount of resources available and I've got to take what's mine. And if I take what's mine, then somebody else loses because I've taken it from them. And it's kind of this us versus me versus you mentality. And throughout time, like I said, it depends on what generation you were born into. Thankfully, the last 10 years have generally been a prosperous period. And really since 1981 or so, albeit except for two financial crises that happened in the middle of it, there's generally been an upward trajectory in the U.S. economy that has lifted a lot of people. Some more than others, of course, but it's lifted a lot of people. And so these people may have more of what's called an abundance mindset. Well, what if you were born into a family that had one versus the other? Does that make it so that you have more chance, more success at life? It's quite possible, because if you felt like somebody was always trying to take something from you and that there was only this small finite amount of resources that were available to you, then that's where budgeting makes sense, because you only are going to make a certain amount of money and that can be taken away from you really easily. And so if that's the case, generally what you'd want to do is live way below your means. And if you live way below your means, you're cutting back, you're scrimping, you're saving, and you're socking away money in the event that you need it into the future. There's a whole movement that was created, the FIRE movement, and I'm sure that you've heard about this. There's a lot of proponents about it. Some people are probably going to comment in here about how it's the greatest thing ever. But I get the reasoning behind the movement. It's living within your means and living below your means and retiring early so that you don't have to have a job for the rest of your life. That sounds really attractive. But what happens is people who subscribe to this movement are generally in their 20s and 30s. And what they subscribe to is delaying gratification of essentially everything or almost everything that you could potentially have while you were younger, so that you can save that money, so that you can not have a job into your late 30s, early 40s, because you've accumulated this nest egg that you can live off of. And what I don't like about that is your 20s and 30s are the time in your life where you can afford to take risks. You can try to build businesses. You can try for those jobs that you don't know whether you would really like. You can try to live in different places around the world. You can try to live in different cities in this country, not being afraid to fail. And taking these risks and doing these aggressive things is, that's when it makes sense to do it, when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're not raising kids most likely, and maybe you have a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend that can join you in that journey, and it can be really eye-opening for you. But the FIRE movement is the exact opposite of that. It's essentially, again, cutting back and living by this scarcity mindset of, this is all that I have, and I'm going to live way below my means to save as much of it as possible. And I personally refuse to live that way, and I don't advise my clients to live that way, because we're only on this planet for a certain amount of time. I mean, the Kobe Bryant unfortunate accident that happened less than a month or so ago, it brought a lot of emotions to the forefront for a lot of people in this country, because Kobe he's the same age as me, and he was such a young, vivacious person who had an incredible career. But from everything that I read, he was setting himself up to have an incredible second act of his life, where he was going to pass on the knowledge that he accumulated to not only his kids, but to a lot of kids around this country, to help uplift them. And his life was taken away in the blink of an eye. It was most likely an accident. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but it was unforeseen. And none of us are guaranteed time on this planet. So I live by the mindset of, I want to live for today and tomorrow. I want to enjoy time with my family while we're around, while we're together, exploring, trying new things, seeing new places, doing things like that with my family as well as with my spouse and myself. And that's not living outside my means, but living some for today while also living for the future. And, I would hate if I had scrimped and saved and cut back on my life to the point where I wasn't even living, and then to have myself or someone around me, one of my loved ones, pass away unexpectedly and have regrets that I didn't live life. So that's kind of what my opinion is of the FIRE movement. I'm not a big fan of it. For some people, I'm sure that it works. But what I would like to talk about is more of that abundance mindset, and the way that I approach cash flow and managing finances for myself and for our clients. And it's not that you don't want to look at your budget. I don't really call it that. I call it cash flow management. It's looking at what you have coming in and what you have going out, but it's not something where you want to be obsessed with it. We have something in our firm that we want to watch the commas and be cognizant of the decimal points. We want to watch the commas and be cognizant of the decimal points. And basically what that means is focus on the big picture. What are the things that really move the needle? You know what doesn't move the needle? Sacrificing a $4 cup of coffee at Starbucks every single day during my working life, and taking that money and investing it into some sort of investment product that's going to return me something over time that's not going to add up to that much in the grand scheme of things. You know what it is going to do? It's going to give me joy in the morning when I go in and I have that cup of coffee. It's going to make me feel good about myself so I can go in and I can be productive during the day because it's something that I really enjoy. It's one of life's little pleasures that makes life worth living. And I'm not giving that kind of thing up. So this whole notion of this latte factor that was created in a book was created about it. In a video that I did, I said, that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there, that's a road to wealth somehow. It's not. It's not a road to wealth. The concept, I kind of understand, but it's not a road to wealth. It's a road to wealth? Being mindful of the big decisions that you have in your life. A recent discussion I had with someone was whether they should get a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage because of what is going on with interest rates. You know what? That's a really big decision. That decision shouldn't be made lightly because it's a mortgage payment for 15 or 30 years. And usually housing after taxes is the second biggest expense that people have. So how big a house you have, what the real estate taxes are, what the insurance are, what the maintenance is. Well, hey, let me turn that off. Not as important as this video that I'm doing right now. So I was saying, mortgages and taxes are the two biggest expenses that people have. When you're thinking about what home you have and how to finance that, that is a much bigger decision than whether I'm going to have this cup of coffee. And locking in an interest rate or not, locking in a certain payment or not, those are comma decisions. Those are bigger decisions that you focus on to make sure that you're doing those things right. The other thing I mentioned there was taxes. Taxes are usually people's biggest expense. And you know how often they plan for those? You meet with a tax preparer after you get your documents in January, and you're doing your tax prep work for a couple months before April 15th. That's what most people do. Yet that's one of the biggest expenses that they have. There's a big difference between working with a tax preparer who's just preparing a return and working with a tax advisor who's helping you through the year see things in a bigger picture, seeing the forest through the trees. What can I do to lower that tax bill now and in the future? What are loopholes that are put into that tax code? 95% of that tax code is generally put in there to tell you how to pay less in tax. Roughly 5% of the tax code is about taking money away from you. The rest of it is all about how you can formulate your life, how you can structure your life to pay less in tax. So why are you not spending more time doing that? That is something that's not budgeting. It's looking at big decisions that you're making and making sure that those are smart decisions. Whether you buy a car or you lease a car, whether you buy a $30,000 car, a $50,000 car, or a $100,000 car, those are expenses that, those make sense. Those are big comma decisions where if you make the right decision, those will have a much bigger impact on your financial life and your life in the future than whether you have that coffee at the beginning of the day. So my point here is focus on what really matters, which is those big decisions, and try to get those things right. Now, speaking to the abundance mindset, this is something that I think I want to try to get as many people as I know to focus on this, that the world is not a zero-sum game. There's a lot of politic talk out right now. I mean, it's Super Tuesday tonight, and it's a lot of talk about taking from one place and giving it to another place. And these people are succeeding, and these people are having problems, and that it must be at someone else's expense. And we're kind of brought into this, through our lives, that life is a zero-sum game. And I'm here to tell you that it isn't. There's more available to people in this world than ever before. And people in America, I think, have it great compared to a lot of places that are out there. And so if we not work hard, but work smart, and we try to figure out how we can take the talents that we've been blessed with and give them to as many people as possible, that is a way and a mindset that can help you lift your income levels. And guess what? If you lift your income levels, then you have the ability to do more with your financial life. And so you're not cutting back, you're lifting your income levels. And so whether that's, researching jobs that are available to you and potentially finding one that not only pays better, but also is more fulfilling to you. It may be starting your own business or starting a side business or side hustling, doing things out there to create other income for you. Maybe it's investing in real estate. Maybe it's investing in income generating assets that can produce more cash flow for you to live on. All of those kind of things I think are part of this abundance mindset, that it's not me against you. It's not us against them. It's how can we take our collective talents and raise everyone up? Okay? And I think approaching life from that mindset can be really powerful and really beneficial. So when we work with our clients who are often business owners, and they've often have successful businesses, we look at the cash flow and we look at what's coming in versus what's going out, but we don't generally, unless it's standing out to us as like a big red flag, we're not generally talking about how people can cut back. We're talking about how people can reposition things within their overall financial situation to get more out of what they already have, which allows freedom in your brain to think about ways that you can expand your means. Because if you're not clogged down with all these thoughts of whether I can spend money on this and that, what's the budget and what envelope is stuff going in, if you're able to free your mind to focus on how can I use my talents to create more for other people, that's how you can raise yourself up, and in turn, the people that are around you that are now benefiting from your talents. So I think budgeting sucks, and I think people aren't set up to do it. It's very similar to dieting and why people fail at dieting. There's so many books out there about diets. There's probably as many books about diets as there are about budgeting, but they generally don't work. And that's because they aren't habit forming. A lot of the stuff about budgeting and being similar to diets, the diet plans that, whatever it is, you're cutting back on your caloric intake for a period of time in a certain way to get your body to run a little bit better. And you shock your body into a change that results in potentially rapid weight loss right out of the gate. People feel good about it. And then a month or two later, they've gained that weight back. And it's almost like they never did anything. You're not giving your chance to form any real habits. And so rather than doing that, I've seen the example of the fact that when you're growing up, your parents probably didn't let you up for the dinner table until you finished your plate. And so it was ingrained in your head from an early age, I have to finish everything on my plate. There's starving people somewhere, so I need to finish everything on my plate. And that's your line of thinking. And as you get older, your plate gets bigger. And as the plate gets bigger, you can put more food on it. Trust me, at Thanksgiving, I know my mother-in-law, she talks about how I, this skinny, can eat as much as I do. I do train for that a little bit, but your plate does get bigger. And so you go to Ponderosa Steakout, you go to Golden Corral, you go to any of these places that have early bird dinners, and they will just throw food on your plate. You go to really nice fine dining restaurants. A lot of them now, they give me way more food than I need. Any of these restaurants give me more food than I need. But in my mind, I'm taught to clean everything that's on my plate. So, because you never know whether there's going to be any more. It's that scarcity. So you want to eat everything that you possibly can. Well, one way to change your mindset thinking is think about those tapas restaurants, those Mediterranean restaurants where the plates are like this big. Plates are like this big. And they've got a couple little things on there. And you can have 6 or 7 plates. And you can finish all these different plates, but your mind makes you feel as if you're full faster because you're finishing your plate. But it's a smaller plate, so you're not putting too much food in your body. So when you're thinking about managing your finances, it's about habits and training and moving and repositioning things to get more out of what you already have. And then when you do that, I can't stress enough how that frees up your mind. And the more you're able to be free and not have these things that your head is focusing on, you're able to, that don't matter, you're able to then take that freedom and devote it to your family, and devote it to your friends, and devote it to figuring out ways where you can potentially, bring more to the table and bring your talents to the table. That was somebody texting me. I'm sure you probably heard that there. probably need to get out of here and head to dinner soon. So, concluding fact from me, I guess it's not a fact, but it's an opinion. Budgeting sucks. Know what your cash flow is, but don't focus on the minutia and the small stuff that really won't move the needle. Look to the commas, not the decimal points. Focus on an abundant mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. Focus how you can take your talents and improve the lives of others, and you, I think, will be on the right track. Make sure you check out the blog, seetheforestthroughthetrees.com. I try to put a lot of tidbits out there for people on that blog of financial planning tips, thoughts, and ideas. Make sure you follow me on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Love to connect with you and love to hear what you think. Do you have an abundance mindset? Do you have a scarcity mindset? What do you think about fire? Let me know. I want to hear it. So till next time, happy Transformation Tuesday, happy Super Tuesday, and I will see you again. Thank you so much for watching my video. I want to be your source for financial planning strategies. I know there's tons of information out there. We're scouring Google, hoping to find information that's pertinent to our situation, but we never know. There's so much information out there now, and I want my team to be your resource. So make sure you subscribe here. Anytime there's a new video released, we want it to ping and let you know so you can check it out. Make sure you check out the blog, seetheforestthroughthetrees.com, a lifestyle blog that does a tremendous job of bringing curated content from not only us, but other people. Thanks again for following us, and we look forward to seeing you again.